Okay, I'd like to call to order the Westerly Public School School Building Subcommittee meeting for Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. The time is 6:01. Members present are Cindy Kirchhoff, Kristen Federico, Michael Ober, Audrey Fober, Chris Lund, Dr. Mark Garceau, and Mark McKinnon, and myself, Justin Hopkins. We also have our council liaison, Phil Overton, here, as well as our owner's project manager, Deb Reading from Downs, and Ashley Prester from DBVW. The first order of business is approval of meeting minutes. You should have all received minutes in the calendar notification for the August 14th building committee meeting. So if there are no modifications to this, the minutes, will entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Next item on the agenda is public comment. I do not believe we have any members of the public unless Phil, you wanted to, sir. You want to be part of a member of the public comment? Okay. Or do you want, we do have an agenda of FY 2026 capital request, but why don't we feel free to just introduce yourself, name, for the folks playing at home. So,
Okay.
welcome.
Good evening. My name is Tabitha Goins. I'm an employee of Westerly Public Schools, and my address is 19 Wilder Ave. I am excited to be in one of the elementary schools that are part of the redesign. It took a long time to get the support for this redesign, and I want to make sure that we are reaching our full potential. I know that there is a very strict budget with very little wiggle room, so rather than cutting and sizing back the projects, I am hoping that we are looking for additional funding. This project will carry us into the future. It'll also be a great asset for our district's community. While in Washington, D.C., we were able to network with other schools, and we found out that Charihope School District runs on solar, which has numerous benefits for the school district and the environment. So if we can supplement money and stack grants and funding, let's do it. I spent some time researching grant opportunities. There's playground grants that will match up to 100% of what we already have for playgrounds. Renew America's Schools. They're helping put ACs in schools, helping to update HVAC systems, stuff like that. There's furniture grants. Part of the Congress's response to COVID pandemic was funds that are targeted for a variety of purposes, including the purchase of new school furniture to support learning and healthy environments. These funds can be used at Lakeshore, and they can design, deliver, and install stuff. The EPA offers two different types of grants, competitive and non-competitive. There's rebate programs for indoor air quality, air conditioners, climate change, and other related topics. They're willing to help us, get on board with solar, which will help us bring in some more money. Projects like covering the parking lots with solar, the roofs out with solar. My point to all of this is the redesign is for all of us. It's for our students, our staff, families, and the entire community. It's a unique opportunity to come together and create the best possible school for everyone. Let's make the most of this chance by thinking creatively and collaboratively to achieve something great. Together, we can make it happen. So that's
Thank you, Tabitha.
and I have tons of different grants that are available. So some really cool ADA grant playgrounds and stuff like that. So just some things for people to look at if they're interested.
I think, well, first of all.
Motion to appoint Tabitha.
Right, grant writer. First of all, any questions before I kind of jump in here from members of the subcommittee?
Well, my question was gonna be who writes grants? Who can write,
Well, I know the new assistant superintendent is really good at writing. I'm willing to do whatever I can do to help.
We did meet a woman, I'm Kimberly Cleary, I teach fourth grade at Phillips Quarter School, and when we went to Washington DC, we did meet a woman whose job was solely to write grants to fund projects. So, we can look for her card and all of the information that we had, but there are people out there whose job is to write the grant to see there. She said that her payment for her funding is 100% paid for by the amount of money the district saved. So it's like a win-win for everyone.
And a lot of these websites, it's do it yourself. Like they'll walk you step by step. They're really supportive and they'll do anything they can to help us. So I just think that the funding is there and we should take it while we can.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the EPA, and the woman from the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, those grants are stackable. So our solar grants can be in addition to other grants that we might attain. So it's amazing the opportunities that are out there. And, as a green school and hoping to be a green community, we'd like to take advantage of anything and everything that's out there.
Any other questions? I know, so first of all, Tabitha, thank you. We were both eating dinner over the weekend at a 5-star establishment when we happened to have a chance meeting. And I encourage you to come. You had mentioned this to me. I encourage you to come and just kind of socialize this with members of the subcommittee. I will say, so there are programs that are usually also available via RIDE that we need to make sure that we keep our eyes on. With respect to the actual grant writing, I know we have somebody in town that has that position for the town. We'll have to understand whether or not we're able to borrow him for school projects. I know there's also, personally, I'm working on projects that are leveraging the Inflation Reduction Act to provide some solar panels on elementary schools that when they're incorporated, these schools will be net zero buildings, which means that they will cost nothing to electrically operate. Part of that's a longer conversation about making sure that we're putting the right mechanical systems and infrastructure in so that if it's carbon free or electrified, the building's electrified, you can then supplement the powering of everything, heating and cooling via the solar panels. But the other thing that I'll mention is that as a subcommittee, and we're going to be talking about capital requests tonight, as a subcommittee, recognizing that, we can't get everything that the district wants or needs in the existing bond or the bond that we've targeted these 3 major projects to, that we need to be focused to the capital request process to make sure that we're backfilling any gaps, scope gaps, et cetera. And I would say that the grant process is one of those tools that we should be leveraging. So stay tuned. I don't know if this will ultimately go through Mark or Cindy, but I think just making sure that there's a standing piece of our meeting just to understand what additional funding mechanisms are. When we get into the capital request, we're starting to tread a little bit into a permanent building committee, which I think needs to have a conversation with the school committee on. We have an ad hoc, we have a charter that addresses the elementary schools, but it seems to me that there needs to be some entity that is managing some of these funding processes in a permanent capacity to help support the town and the district from a capital improvements perspective. So.
Right, and I literally go home and sit on the computer for like an hour and a half and every night, and this is just some of the stuff that I've stumbled across. So if we actually really looked into it, I can't imagine, like, the possibilities are huge.
I will say, I did see some, as much as I hate to say this, but this will be the opportunity that I'll say it. I did say some social media conversations last week about a ride. There was a news article on the local Channel 10 that referenced school security programs that were available in the district. And the byline was only a select number of districts applied for it. And this was introduced on social media as why didn't Westerly go after this? The reason that Westerly did not go after this is that we've already had the security upgrades as part of our 2019 capital improvements that we're finishing this year on. So we did not have, we already had that funding mechanism in place before the actual thing. I keep looking at you. You didn't ask the question. I'm just saying that it's because it has been out there, we might as well bring it up now. So it's not for lack of due diligence on the subcommittee or the district's part that we did not apply for that grant. It's just we simply already had it funded and didn't qualify for it. So, anything else?
No, just that a lot of these are stackable.
Mhm.
You can receive multiple. There's a lot of new tax incentives for schools that are available as of right now. I'll continue to keep diving in and continue to keep getting more information. I think it's exciting. I think it's an exciting time. If we can do it, then we might as well do it. And if they're handing it out, we might as well be in line with their handout.
Agreed. Thank you. Okay. Anything else you want to add? You can just keep on going.
No, I can keep on going and I cannot. Yeah, this is all the grants and stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment? All right. Hearing none. The next item on the agenda is FY 2026 capital request. So is this?
Yes, we're going to review the spreadsheet and the presentation for stage one. I'm sure. Go right ahead.
So everyone should have the memo of capital and then also the sheets with our town capital balances, just an update of our current capital that the town funds, what our current balance is, the description of the project, and the current status. So if we look at the proposed capital request for 25-26, you'll see the first one is a vehicle replacement, $120,057. This is year one of a 5-year lease. All the vehicle replacement plans for the town and the school are on a leasing program. So this request is for 2 electric buses, a total cost of $955,000, out of which $411,750 will be reimbursed by Rhode Island DEM grant funding. And Sucarino Transportation has received that notification of this award. The second vehicle replacement is a cargo van for facilities that was purchased in 2006. So it has exceeded its life and is no longer in service. So Mark is looking to replace that. Second page, our third request, roof replacement, $1,540,000. This is for the middle school. This is phase 1, year 1 of what will be a 3-phase, 3-year project. So while we could potentially complete all 3 phases within 1 year, the total cost of that is over $4 million. And that typically wouldn't go through as a capital request, that would go through as a bond. So Mark and I spoke and he agrees it makes sense to break the phases out over 3 years. And when we submit our capital requests, they're from 1 year to 5-year plans. So this fits in with that. The fourth is playground areas. So as you know, for this fiscal year, we do have funding for Dunn's Corners and Springbrook playgrounds. And in last year's request, we did state that it was year one of a 2-year request, in that in fiscal year 26, we would return with a request for State Street. And this is the most recent update that we have from Andrea.
And yes, from NCA.
So that's equipment, play surface, and she also included escalation and contingency, since this funding would not be in place till July 1. Fifth request, HVAC upgrades. $200,000. This is just additional funding to put into HVAC for air conditioning units. We know the HVAC need is much greater than that. However, we are limited in what we will receive for capital. Sixth request is to upgrade the public address systems and the network connections amongst the buildings. Mike Soika, Director of Technology, asked that this be added, and the $250,000 is just a placeholder. And the last request is, it lists Director of Facilities, however, this did come from Sue Garino, for the bus garage parking lot paving and improvements. And currently the 200,000 that's in here is just a placeholder as we come up with a little bit of a better estimate of that cost. So if you go back to the first page, the estimated budget impact is $2,883,739. So that would be the request that we would be making to the town. And if you look at the capital balances, the first section shows our fiscal year 25 capital for this year. Our budget with the town was $2,764,109. So we're in line with asking for a similar total request.
Okay.
Okay.
Any
So-
questions about any of these items?
I do.
Okay.
When was the middle school built? What was the year?
2005,
Okay. Is it typical that it needs a new roof already?
20 years.
Flat? And then which schools for the HVAC upgrades? Because isn't some of that going to come with some of the construction that we're doing? So where do the upgrades need to be done?
These are throughout the district. We have identified a couple of admin areas, a few classrooms, things that just are not part of the
So
renovation.
not elementary schools.
Oh, Springbrook is on that list. Their admin AC unit is in district meeting.
Well, that was my other question. AC, does Springbrook have AC?
So
You don't? No. Yeah, and we weren't able to do that in our redesign, so I guess, I don't know, I'm wondering which schools are going to get air conditioning. Is that just the ones middle school and I guess Springbrook? Because I know it's not here.
we have identified the Babcock main offices, Dunn's Corner main offices. Springbrook has classrooms included as well. So we're trying to get as many as we can for that price tag.
It's also, I'm sorry, Mark, it's also an item that we've held out. It was an alternate as part of the Springbrook and Dunn's. And we were going to see where our contingency funds lay. Grammar, ELA folks.
But State Street, we didn't do it either. We did that other thing, but we didn't do AC.
It was dehumidification though, so it was much more improved system than.
Well, I know improved. I guess I just want to make sure that if there's air conditioning going around, I know that was a topic that we brought up. I know that was a contingency. So I just want to make sure it's.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some unforeseen contingency draws later from
Right.
Dunn's and Springbrook. So anyway,
Mark's middle school roof, okay, or does it warrant accelerating it?
We did a nuclear scan last year and it identified hotspots where we need to address. And we looked at the phasing, we are identifying the worst areas in year one. So we should be okay with phasing it for 3 years and then we should be all right.
And this is the kind of typical Garland system that the district has. It's a pretty good number for 3-year roof replacement. But anyway, okay. I think there's a second part of this conversation, isn't there? Or what are you looking for?
So stage one.
So what I'm looking for with this capital request is that the building subcommittee recommend this request to the school committee. So then I can bring this forward at the school committee meeting next Wednesday. And then with their approval, it will be submitted to the town manager by October 1st. That's when it's due per the budget calendar.
The request is that the town give this money.
Yes, this is town capital, so this is the town budget.
And
Correct.
so last year, you were granted 2,764,000 for the year. That was a little.
Yes.
Plan, yeah.
And the second half of this conversation is that we have the opportunity to get 35% reimbursement on all of our capital requests if we simply submit in advance, which is something that it seems like a no-brainer that we should be doing, because if you're spending, let's just call it 3 million over a 5-year period, that's $15 million, and a 35% reimbursement, you will, the shorthand of that is what, 5 million and change. So it seems like it would be dereliction of duty if we didn't apply for it. So let's
Need to secure an MOA,
Yeah.
right?
yes, but let's deal with the first things first. Would anybody like to make a motion to recommend this list of proposed capital requests to the school committee?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay.
Mark, you sure you can't get another 2-3 years out of that vehicle?
I know we're gonna go down the last stretch. Yeah. It rattles a little bit.
Okay.
You
Is
want to
that,
talk about stage one right now, or we're still talking about?
I think it makes sense to handle it under this agenda.
Yeah, I think it would be a great idea. We have that all queued up there. Okay, so we've worked diligently, and Mark's done 99% of the heavy lifting here to put together a comprehensive budget for the next 5 years. It's obviously a wish list. It's I think Sandy would say it's your one chance to go for it all, what you're going to be looking for. And of course, it's hard to say at this point what we're going to need in 5 years, but we've done a good job at trying to capture everything. So just to refresh everyone, when we're applying for stage one with RIDE, this is a submission of stage one. I don't need to read this all to you because I'm sure you understand it all. But what we're doing is just putting our foot in the door. It's not a commitment. It doesn't cost us. It is just getting in line for funding with RIDE. And once approved, we go to a stage two, and that's when we actually start to get involved. We would bring on an architectural firm, have some MEP engineers, and we start to be putting together our actual costs and then going back to RIDE for approval, so we can move forward to stage three. So that, the next highlight here, that is exactly what this presentation brings us through. We put together a very lengthy submittal and lots of information in it. We submit by December 15th. We need your signature, Dr. Garcelle. We would also get it in front of the school committee next week. Joe DeSantis says no problem to do that retroactively and then forward that approval line afterwards. And this would be through 5 years, so it would bring us to 2029. And yeah, you go to the next page here. So not necessarily to vote for this, you're not necessarily supporting this plan, what we're going to be walking through. You're allowing the process to investigate further. You are allowing continued discussion, and you are abiding by the right required process, and you're not committing any funds. So it's really, as Justin was saying, a no-brainer to get this going. The total we've come up with, which you'll see in a minute, the spreadsheet, we're at 27,567,000. The base reimbursement would be 9.6 million against that. And Mark just went back and looked, and his last 5-year plan was at 28.5. So we're right in line with the last time we put this together. I didn't.
So just to kind of level set here. The annual capital expenditure is our funds that we're going to be spending anyway. What the district has done and Mark has done with Deb is identify all the potential projects that could fall under the umbrella of a 5-year plan. That's not to say that the entire, I know you would like the entire 27 million to all be approved, but each annually, it starts at the district. We've kind of gotten our hands in it a little bit the last couple of years to recommend to the school committee as part of a workflow. It then goes to the school committee. It then goes to the planning board for its review and the town manager's incorporation of the budget. And then it goes through the whole workshop process at the town council. So that's not to say that the entire 27, I mean, there are portions of the previously identified 5-year plans that never went forward. You know, you get into the project and you realize that things are too expensive or priorities have changed, etc. So it's not to say that this automatically obligates everybody for that amount, but what it does is it allows us the ability, if we are able to go through all these processes and we get the approval from RIDE, we'll be able to get 37 cents on the dollar. Is that what I saw?
Just so we
37.
make it to the extra 2.5,
Okay.
he needs to confirm that. So it's between 35 and 37.
So in my opinion, this is money that we're at minimum spending between $2 and $3 million a year anyway, as part of our annual budget process. It makes sense to potentially get, you know, $750 to $1.2 million in reimbursement off that. So,
Totally agree.
and the schedule for this is, September submission to RIDE for stage 1, February submission to RIDE for stage 2, approval by the spring,
Yes,
Council on Elementary and Secondary Education. So theoretically, those funds would be able to be applied to the work that we just.
exactly. And I've
we just
captured
reviewed.
everything on Cindy's list except for the vehicles. Of course, that would be at the
And not eligible.
capital cost, right? And we just talked about the parking lot, so we can add that to this as well. And so we have everything included in there, but we have actually got a lot more in here, and knowing the building is a lot better now. The market already had just about everything on here. I didn't, Rick, you zoom in, just the first 2 columns are the most important, and I can tell people, you know, we've spread these out over 5 years, trying to be realistic, just what would get done. So we've got done, first of all, exterior envelope repairs, 150,000. You know, we've already heard it from Tower that the exterior brick needs to be cleaned, probably needs to be regrouted, repointed in some places. Some of the windows, even though they may need to be replaced, and some of the existing storefronts need to be recaulked. So, you know, to go around the entire existing building, bring that back up.
But we're not going to go through 4 pages of.
No,
Right.
okay. So I'll run through it real quick. So at Dunn's, we've got the exterior, we've got window replacement. We have storm resistant glass and solid surface interior sills. We've got abating the rest of the flooring, and replacing it with LVT, upgrading the cab finishes. Electrical will finish replacing all the panel boards in the building. Mechanical, upgrade all the HVAC, so we have air conditioning throughout. Plumbing, replace classroom sinks and faucets, and little fire safety, upgrade fire extinguishers and signage. Springbrook, basically about the same thing. We've got some security upgrades on site, exterior envelope repairs, interior. Remove remaining flooring, there's no abatement there, so we'll be doing the rest of the flooring. Renovate the toilet room finishes, which are kind of tired. Food service equipment repairs, so we don't have those at Dunn's Corner. Again, upgrade all the HVAC so we have air conditioning throughout. Replace all the existing unit ventilators. It's a very expensive undertaking, but it's included here. replace the classroom sinks and faucets, replace all the bathroom sinks, toilets, partitions, and accessories, upgrade fire extinguishers and signage. Going through the high school, we've got some security, food service equipment, auditorium upgrades, which I know you touched upon there, the food service equipment repairs, new heating and central ventilation system, which Mark had quotes on, thank goodness. Install new greaseway system with interceptors in the kitchen, and again, upgrade fire extinguishers. Babcock, new central heating system, and you had a quote on, replace existing switch gear, remove and replace existing underfloor grease interceptor and cafeteria. And again, with the life safety. Concession stands and general repairs. Middle school, the roofing was on here. Food service equipment repairs. We've got some electrical, auditorium lighting, and again, upgrade some life safety. So that brings us to a total of $27,567,000. And that's what we would like to submit to RIDE.
I'm gonna say it again, now Johns and Springbrook are gonna have AC throughout, and State Street's not.
The biggest plus with what we're gonna be doing at Duns and Springbrook will be the dehumidification.
Right, but you're still gonna do AC. So
Well, some of the areas already have it. So we're just balancing out the rest of the building.
but we're not balancing out the district elementary schools. So I have an issue with that.
He wants to take it off the list.
No, I want to figure out how we can do this equitably. I mean, that was a big thing that we cut off our list, which is fine, because it was like, okay, well, nobody really has it, but now you're saying that 2 schools are gonna have central AC and one's not.
Well, they won't have central. They're gonna have units in
Sorry,
each
throughout.
classroom. Yeah,
AC
no, I
throughout.
know. State Street, since it's a new building, we're able to put in a more efficient system that honestly has been used throughout Rhode Island. It's been used in East Providence, and it's been used up in Providence itself. I think they're doing one up in Lincoln, and it's very effective. You walk into the building and you do think it's air conditioned.
So why
It's
would
not so
you do
much
the
air
same?
conditioned as it's
Even
conditioned air.
conditioned
So
air, exactly. All that
so-
humidity is pulled out.
Right.
And
It's a different system altogether.
right, it's great for the system. You, with the way that Duns and Springbrook are set up with all these individual units, they just don't make it just a plain old dehumidifier for just a classroom. So you put in the air conditioning unit.
So I have a question. When we had our negative air unit installed, all the curbs were put up for AC. So almost every classroom at Dunn's has a portable AC in it that's plugged into a wall.
Mhm.
So wouldn't it make more sense to get rid of 30 portable ACs and just put a unit up there?
That's basically
We're-
the idea, right? I did look at Ashley, but he looked into this as an alternate on the project.
It's,
Oh.
yeah, sorry. I think we're getting into like, I mean, this is the risk of unveiling a 5-year plan in front of everybody that hasn't had an opportunity to review it.
Right.
So, I think there will be time to discuss what this is
Mhm.
between now and February,
Exactly.
all right?
Right, this is very preliminary again, it's literally a foot in the door. You get in line with everybody else for funding and for consideration. And then once we get approved our stage 1, then we move on to stage 2, and that's when all these conversations would come up. And we would,
So I think just to help everybody out here, I think what I think we're looking for is not necessarily the approval of the capital plan itself, but the process of applying for RIDE reimbursement for stage 1, and ultimately this becoming a document in February, which would, at least at minimum, we would be providing the stuff in year 1 that Cindy has allocated.
exactly.
And then I think we'll need to revisit all of this stuff just to make sure that there's a comfort level with members of the subcommittee, members of the school committee, and operations. Obviously, you guys are going to present the stuff that you think needs to be there. And there may be some questions as you've heard so far.
You're absolutely right, Justin. For those of us who have been through this process, we know that from one stage to the next, it can change. The ideas can change, the intent. So,
The question I had during this whole process is, should we put a line item for State Street on there? So that if something does come up in these 5 years, we can get reimbursed for.
What would
That's
possibly,
why I didn't put anything on.
I'll be standing right behind you when you present that to everybody publicly. But is gonna be annual maintenance that is gonna be required. I don't necessarily think when you build a new building, you would expect that, and we would be talking about just the first 3 years of the building would be as part of this capital improvement plan. I could not imagine what would possibly qualify for capital improvements on a new building. So
Yeah.
maintenance, yes. Maintenance, yes. So
so this is the recommendation we're looking at. To authorize Westerly Public Schools to work with the school building committee, the town of Westerly, and their OPM Downs Construction Company to prepare and submit a RIDE Stage 1 application for submission on September 15th.
does anybody have a problem? I know, Kristen, I think we have some work to do with
I
what
had
the
a
content.
couple other questions about a couple other things, but should I just let that be? Because it's not, you're saying like right now.
It's not what we're voting on now.
Right, so I'm fine to not say anything about, or I'm fine to bring it up. It's your choice.
Why don't we get through this
Okay.
first? So does anybody have an issue with moving this forward? And if not, would anybody like to make a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
Right.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. So Phil, you understand what we're doing here because the council is going to be a partner in this, in the annual, review. I know you're termed out, aren't you?
I'm sure.
Okay. But- so you can prep your colleagues for what's coming down the pike, but it ultimately, it seems to be the responsible way to at least get some of the money that's available from money that we're already going to be spending. So, okay, so with that, Kristen, is there anything else that you want to bring up on the list?
So I had a question about the field lighting. Didn't we just get brand new lighting up here?
I believe so.
All right, so I guess I wonder, what do we need $400,000 worth of work for something brand new?
So the field lighting, the budget was $423,000. The balance in that account is $39,715. That was that lighting project. This is prior years, so there's a remaining balance that was not used when the new lighting was installed.
So there's not more lighting that you need to do.
So as part of the review, when we review capital balances, we look at the balance and say, is there a need to use this balance for anything else for that project? If not, then we can always do what we've done in the past. We would go in front of town council and ask to reallocate the funding to another line.
So that was that question. And then my other question down here was the high school field reconditioning. Have we paid for the field yet?
What are you?
Am I on the wrong thing? No, I'm looking at the same way you are.
I think you're looking at it.
Capital balance. Yes, prior years. So that school, high school field reconditioning, that was a prior year balance. That was prior to the turf field. So that was to support ongoing maintenance when it was a grass field.
Okay, so it doesn't need to be reconditioned with the kind of.
Correct.
So Cindy, those balances, how often do those get gathered up and allocated? That's something you do annually?
We have not done it annually. So I believe one of the last ones we did was actually for the field lighting, because you'll see I noted fiscal year 2022 transfer from prior years. So we were able to budget that $423,000 for field lighting by using other capital balances that were not going to be utilized, and that is submitted to town council for approval.
Right, but I guess my question is, so now, if you're still on that line, there's roughly 40,000 sitting there that we don't need any longer. There's 1,700 bucks, which is pocket change that was just referenced. I'm just wondering how often we do that, if it wouldn't make for a cleaner document if we did it on kind of a more regular basis, to clear those projects out, reallocate the funds, and then we don't have questions like the hearing.
Almost create a contingency for
Right.
closed out projects. Close it out and you don't have to change your totals at the bottom. Just start building a contingency that you could use towards something else possibly.
Nothing like that, I don't know. The other question, Justin, I think you kind of alluded to it earlier. Have there been any more conversations with the finance board about a comprehensive facilities plan to include town properties as well, and town facilities? You know,
Not that I'm aware of.
very high on that last season and the season before.
Yeah.
Just hasn't come to fruition, I guess.
No, I mean, it's one of those things that, yeah, I'm not aware of one. Kind of, some municipalities have what's called a permanent building committee or a standing building committee that takes on all both municipal and school projects. We're kind of, doing a little bit of extra credit work here.
Yeah.
By seeing an avenue for additional funding as part of our major school projects.
Well, we're eligible for reimbursement that the town isn't necessarily.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's us and there's them, and them are the ones with the money. It would make sense if we could one day figure out how to do this together.
I mean, it's all we that pays for it anyway, so.
Ultimately, yeah.
Okay, it's a good question. I don't exactly know where that, I'm not sure that anybody would particularly feel like their toes are being stepped on. I think it's just, DPW has projects that they work on, the town, has projects that they work on.
Yeah.
And the school has projects that we work on, the rec department has projects that it works on. Whatever's going on with Tower Street, that I know is back out on the street now for designer selection, is something that is happening.
Yeah.
But it should be it would seem like would be a pretty streamlined thing if it was all under an umbrella. Not that I think anybody on this board wants to volunteer for more work, but.
Oh, I thought you had, I'm sorry.
I know the planning board typically has a statutory role in reviewing capital improvement requests, but it's limited to like one meeting where, we call people up to make a presentation, and that's it. So,
And to add, the town does have in this year's budget and the town capital aligned for a capital asset plan that the finance board recommended. So
Oh, good. All right.
they are moving in that direction.
yeah, I mean, I think the question is just who has oversight of it, right? Like to the.
Town finance director.
Yeah, okay. Because, not to get too much into the weeds, but, if we start having a huge list of balances on past projects that then just goes into a kitty somewhere, I think that could start getting us in trouble for reporting, or at least understanding what we have, that type of thing. But unless there's an agreement about what's going in, if there's a burn rate or a policy to how, it can only go up to a certain amount before you need to put it back in the general fund or whatever. But
May I ask one more time, has the field been paid for?
Yes.
I've had people ask me and I don't know the answer and I'm going to give them. Yes, it has. And where did the money come from?
You will have my report at next week's school committee meeting.
Great, thank you.
okay. What else? We just moved this. Anything else on your list? You confused me, Kristen, because you were going through the balance rather than the other,
Oh, I don't have that one.
okay.
That's
All
fine.
right.
Sorry, Justin, I think I have to go line. We might need to circle back and do invoices.
Okay, well, I think we were all under the FY 2026 capital request.
Have we approved that? Have you voted?
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
voted
did.
for
Very
it.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is item number 6, approval of invoices. And we have no shortage of invoices this evening, do we? Okay, let's. Invoices, holy smokes, okay. Everybody bring dinner? Okay, we have Collier's Project Leaders Commissioning Services at Dunn's Corner in Springbrook through August 31st, 2024, in the total amount of $4,755. We have invoice number 944699 for Springbrook in the amount of $3,025. Invoice number 977017 for Springbrook in the amount of $827.50. And invoice number 977018 for Dunn's Corner Elementary School in the amount of $902.50. Would anybody, I think the way that we've grouped them is we'll just take all the invoices under one vendor. So would anybody like to make a motion to approve the 3 Colliers Project Leaders invoices?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now, getting right to the big one, huh? Tower construction, application for payment number 2 for Dunn's Corner Elementary School and Springbrook Elementary School through August 30th, 2024, in the amount of $1,677,937.29. So this is a total bill to date of approximately 3.5 million, or 21.64% of the total contract, which represents 11% of the work at Dunn's Corner and 10% of the work at Springbrook Elementary School. Are there any questions to Deb regarding the tower construction application for payment 2? Ashley, you've reviewed this and
Cool. We have put them through their paces.
so if there are no questions, we'll entertain a motion to approve this one.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Commercial roofing application for payment number 3 for Springbrook Elementary School roof replacement through August 31st, 2024, in the amount of $279,015. Total bill to date, approximately 1.6 million, or 89% of the total contract. Right, so Ashley, you've reviewed this as well. Are there any questions? Okay, would anybody like to make a motion to approve this one?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. DBVW invoice number 2318-15 for professional services for Dunn's Corner Elementary School and Springbrook Elementary School through August 2024 in the amount of $45,584.51. This is for the construction administration services for both projects. Any questions to Ashley on this one? And if there are none, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. DBVW invoice number 2356-06 for professional services for Springbrook Elementary School roof replacement through August 2024 in the amount of $10,948.75. This is again for construction administration services for the Springbrook roof project. If there are no questions, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. TSKP invoice number 230601-13 for professional services for State Street Elementary School through August 2024 in the amount of $12,678.83. This brings them to 78% of their total contract. And I assume this is basic, once we're getting into CA or construction administration, this is just a standard monthly burn rate. Okay. Until the completion of the project. So Are there any questions to Deb on this one, who has reviewed this invoice? And if there are none, we'll entertain a motion to approve. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, next one, Prime Consulting Testing and Inspection Services at Dunn's Corner and Springbrook Elementary Schools through September sixth, 2024, in the total amount of $16,179.20, including invoice number 23134, invoice number 23137, invoice number 23144, and invoice number 23145 for Springbrook, Dunn's Corner, Springbrook and Dunn's Corner. This is work that is required for quality control of things like concrete pours, rebar inspections,
Right.
yep, compaction of subgrade, all this good stuff. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve these?
So,
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. And last but not least, Downs Construction Corporation invoices number 12 for OPM services through August 2024 in the total amount of $29,165, including Dunn's Corner Elementary School at $7,160, Springbrook Elementary School at $7,160, State Street Elementary School at $13,395, and Springbrook Elementary School roof replacement at $1,450. Any questions, Deb, on this? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve?
second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, so my printer ran out of ink after this one, so is there any more here?
That's
Okay.
it. That's it.
This is what happens when we're only meeting once a month.
Exactly.
For these, so,
Well, the good news is I think ONG is going to be submitting on our second meeting every month, so we won't have to go through theirs as well.
so, anything else for invoices?
Nope.
Good.
But all good with
Item
it.
number 7, owner's project manager / architect update.
Absolutely. So I'll give you a quick rundown on State Street. We are still in basically, early construction mobilization phase out there. There was a slight hiccup with the drawings. They were having a little problem with lining up the GPS coordinates. So we met yesterday. Andrea's all over that. She went back to their geo people to get that straightened out so that they can get all that set up and they get started out there. We have Vigo Gorio on site, and we're gonna start meeting on site hopefully next month. We have our weekly meetings and everything's on schedule, no big issues so far. We have a forthcoming change order for the additional fencing, but that's about it.
Any questions to Deb on State Street? When do you want to tackle the fire, the plan review fees for the fire districts? Should it be part of?
I have sort of.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
I have sent over our costs for what would be under a fire district's purview to Chief Mackey. He acknowledged receipt of it, and he also asked me for a full cost of the project, which I forwarded him the SOV from the schedule values from ONG, which is the actual cost of the project. So he has both. And he asked for that, saying that when he sat down to discuss this with whoever he's going to be discussing it with, he wanted to show them all the costs and then what they would be agreeing to. So that was yesterday. I haven't heard anything since. So that's where we are with State Street. Springbrook, as we know, we do have a permit in place. And then I was just going to touch upon.
Well, I'm just gonna prompt the question.
Prompt the question, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, I'm gonna bring this up now, because, Phil, I want to make sure you're aware of this. Did you follow our last meeting at all?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so we have a bit of an impasse in town, with, plan review fees for, a publicly funded project. I can tell you that, of the, dozens of school projects that I have worked on professionally, not one community has charged plan review fees, for their own projects, for taxpayer funded projects or projects that are under the care and control of the municipality, either the schools or the town. It's a commonly accepted practice, because when you're asking taxpayers to fund a project through a bond, if you can have them not have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in permit review fees, it all goes to the betterment of the community. The distinction in Westerly is our fire districts are not under the authority of the town. The town building department has waived plan review fees like they do any other, like they did for the police station, like they did for the DPW facility, like they do for any other town hall project or whatnot. We assumed incorrectly that all plan review fees would be waived for the project, including fire department plan review fees.
Who is charging these fees to fire districts?
The fire districts, Dunn's Corner Fire District in particular, and Westerly Fire District, which they are entitled to by state law. And the plan review fees are substantial for our three projects. If we utilized the full amount that they're authorized to charge, it would be in approximately the $160,000 range for one person to review the drawings.
Have they waived these fees in the past?
I cannot get that information from anybody because there has not been a major project that I'm aware of, that anybody is aware of, that was around or recalls whether or not they had waived plan review fees. I know Cindy has looked at other past projects from a municipal standpoint and has not found any substantial investment or checks cut to the fire districts for anything other than typical inspections, et cetera. And that goes back for however long we've had a record. Correct? Okay.
It's till about 2011.
Yeah.
So where is it now? Is it still in discussion phase?
The town manager is, it's escalated a little bit with the Dunn's Corner Fire District in particular. And the town manager has been trying to kind of keep this, at a non-DEFCON 1 level for conversation. However, what I'm going to ask the subcommittee to do this evening is to at least authorize the funds to be applied if we have to pay these fire department review fees. We're getting to a point now where if we can't come to a resolution, it's going to be very not good for our projects. So while the conversations are still continuing, frankly, I will be honest with the subcommittee, I think there are some ruffled feathers in the process. And it has the potential to be a little messy if we don't come to a resolution. So I am going to request from the subcommittee that we actually ask that we at least have the ability as a project team to utilize a portion of our project's contingency to pay the fire department plan review fees. Chris,
It makes perfect sense.
yeah,
Just to keep it in your back pocket. And thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make the council aware of that.
Chris, you do a lot of work in your district. Do you ever pay permit fees for your
The only thing we pay are the state unit.
the state ADA fees? Yeah. And would you, I know that I can sometimes be guilty of hyperbolic statements, but would you say that it is a universally accepted or commonly accepted practice that districts don't charge their own projects for plan review?
Not heard of one of those.
Okay, thank you.
Before today. Before some more.
Okay. So, the short answer is that frankly, had we had this conversation 6 months ago with the districts, we likely would have been able to arrive at a better solution here. I probably would have offered to pay a third-party code consultant at a fraction of the price, maybe $20,000 rather than $160,000 to review and stamp their analysis. But unfortunately, we're not in the position to do that with our partners in our fire district. So I know not having resolution to this issue has presented a challenge to the district and all its projects that it was trying to do complete to open school in last week, to the point where Deb and Mark, were you here on Sunday of Labor Day weekend? We're working with the fire marshals to make sure that they had everything they needed to approve the work that was in place.
I'm impressed. They're impressed. Good job.
So these are permit review fees that they want to get charged. Okay.
So there's the way that the state, so if I were a commercial entity, I would need to pay a building department review fee and a state fire marshal review fee. That would typically be part of well, actually, I don't know with other districts if it's just all one, if it's all embedded in the permit review fees, actually, maybe,
Statewide or,
Yeah.
or local?
like if I were to go to a district that didn't have fire districts.
Well, again, as you and I have had parallel careers, and I have never had it in any districts that I've been in.
Yeah.
Either.
In Rhode Island.
Yeah, and even on a state project, it was waived as well.
No, so the way that it works is it's like $2,500 up to $500,000, and then it's just like your property taxes. It's a rate for every $1,000 of construction. So, and for the fire department review fees, it's $4 per thousand of construction above 500,000, which you can imagine on a $28.5 million project that gets over $100,000 very quickly. So, it's unfortunate because I think that this subcommittee did such a good job of getting to a project where we were hoping to utilize some of our contingency to put scope into the project, back into the project, that this will obviously sacrifice some of that. So,
Okay. Well, thank you for making me aware of it. I'll make the town council president aware of it. And,
Thank you.
We'll see where it goes.
Thanks. I know Sean's been on the case trying to have these discussions with the fire chiefs.
Have we invited them here?
I think there's discussion about potentially inviting them to a school committee meeting to
There was
discuss that.
a letter issued by the chair of the school committee asking for some kind of explanation or, and inviting them to come and explain why we're in this predicament, but there's been no response. No, that we're aware of.
We're playing nice in the sandbox, but I think we're in a situation where there simply aren't it's not often there's this scale of publicly funded project in town that's bond funded, that we're different than a nonprofit, right? We're a municipally funded project. So I think it does have some distinction between, your Johnny Cakes or your YMCA's or, your warm shelters, those that kind of operate in the nonprofit sector. So, it's,
I think it's very wise to invite the chiefs in for a school committee meeting.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
put them on the record why they're going down this road.
thank you.
So Justin, are you looking for pre-approval of that amount?
Yeah, I think we have to I don't want to necessarily hold a special meeting if we have the money in the contingency, as much as I don't want to use it for this. And I don't necessarily, everybody's aware of this issue. We've brought it up. We started bringing it up at the last meeting. I just want to have the permission of the subcommittee to utilize the money for the fire department review fees in the event that it's required.
Absolutely.
And I would ask the subcommittee to make that a formal motion. and, formal vote.
Will you
So,
need the exact amount?
yes,
It's $41,833.
for,
That's for Dunn's.
For just tons.
and
That's just-
for,
We don't have State Street yet, and that isn't, that's different, chief,
okay,
different situation, so that's still in review.
okay.
So I move to authorize the expenditure of $41,833 as needed to address this permit issue.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None, motion carries, thank you.
Hopefully we'll have good
Yeah.
information to bring at the next meeting, that we didn't have to spend it, but.
Justin, I have to leave. Is there anything else that I?
No, I wanted to get to that. I wanted you to be aware of that because, I don't necessarily want to put people in town on blast. So if there are just avenues to, bring these up in our respective public bodies, I think that's the avenue for it to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, I'm very patient, making nothing.
Thank you, everyone. We needed to go through that, I think, so.
Thank you, Justin. I think it's a wise move.
Yeah, looking at the time, I'll try to be quick here.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. I was simply going to prompt it, to talk about it, but, we're gonna talk a little bit about the Governor's Commission on Disabilities. Now that we've gotten schools open, we've had some correspondence from the Governor's Commission. I wanted to bring you guys up to speed on basically remind everyone where we were, at the beginning of the year and then where we're at right now. So on January 19th, we received approval of our 60% ride docks from the Governor's Commission. They did say at that point that poured in place surfacing, which is in the bottom right photo, just pull off the web, none of these are our projects, was preferred for accessible routes through playgrounds. This is for the wheelchairs and walkers and other assisting devices to be able to be moved through a playground area. On March 13th, they stated that the engineered wood fiber, which you see in the upper right, is not allowed in mass. That was their statement in a letter to us, and we said, well, we're not Massachusetts. We looked at the specifications. All three specified manufacturers that we provided in the spec must be mechanically compacted, but they all advertise and show that they are ADA compliant for accessible routes. So we've been trying to explain that to the Governor's Commission, and that this is not regular wood chips. This is a special system designed for fall protection as well as accessible routes. You can see one of the manufacturers in the upper left has a ramp system that they use to get over the curbs to get into the playgrounds themselves. And you can see in the upper right, one of the manufacturers is actually compacting it there with a vibratory device. We received an email on September 3rd, so last week, from the Governor's Commission asking where we are. We think this was prompted because the contractor paid the ADA state review fee for Springbrook, because it specifically came regarding Springbrook. And they reiterated their requirement for poured-in-place surfacing on the pass. They called it a hybrid design. So I wanted to bring it back to the committee's attention and let you guys know that where we're at. Poured in place, we've averaged out around, Justin has provided some information. I looked at my information. It averages out about $37 a square foot, while wood fiber is only $5.50 per the estimate that we had for CDs on this project. So it's a very significant cost upgrade to consider this. The reason we went with the wood fiber is because of the budget crunch, trying to get everything down into the $50 million bond. I just did a quick back of the napkin. If we take 20% of the playgrounds that we have now, one playground's about 11,000 square feet, the other one's about 15,000 square feet. If we took 20% of that, like you see in the bottom left corner, and created paths, it could be a change order of $400,000 to $500,000 to this project. Just because of the change, and frankly, as you know, I don't have any evidence to substantiate this, but the idea of wood fiber on one side and then having a hard surface or a softer surface, but it creates a tripping hazard, I would think, between when the kids are running around between the wood fiber and the board in place. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm really a proponent of it, but I've had correspondence with the Governor's Commission and told them that I would inform the committee of where we are right now. I think the next step would be, would respectfully request that this group vote to assemble a group of 3 or 4 representatives from either the SBC or Westerly Public Schools, that we could schedule a meeting with the Governor's Commission, whether in person or virtual, we'll determine that, to basically go over the bond history and the project history of this project, so they understand that this went through several iterations of failed attempts before we got a bond that worked and that was able to be achievable. We'd like to talk about the economic hardships of the port in place. The current laws and codes, I have asked them to cite the exact law where EWF or engineered wood fiber is not allowed, and I have not gotten a direct answer. I've gotten studies and white papers and recommendations of guidelines, but there is no law or code that I can find. Now, I would welcome the opportunity to be informed and educated if there is something out there that I'm not aware of. And then talk about the specifications for the EWF that we have and how those systems can be used. They can be compacted. They need to be maintained. They could be proof rolled with just a water barrel roller, just to compact it back down to make sure it doesn't get all stirred up and stays in compliance with the ASTM, American Standard Testing of Materials guidelines. So the goal would be to close the issue on the EWF, adjust the drawings and specs if there's any agreement or changes that need to be made, and then confirm the scope to the contractor so we can assure the summer 2025 install. One of the 2 play structures has been approved through the submittal process, probably already been released for production. I mean, we're not expecting it to get installed till next summer. But at this point, we're kind of into it. I don't know if we could actually cancel playground work at this time. So we kind of need to come up with a solution.
Yeah, we're not going to cancel playground work.
Yeah. So, and I understand it's a big ticket item, and we could be if we agree to go with the hybrid approach, we could be very selective with where the paths are to be as conscious about the cost as possible.
So this is just, my understanding is they're not necessarily, or at least saying that they would require this in fall zones of places, correct?
They have been telling us that engineered wood fiber is allowed in fall zones. They're talking specifically about the accessible routes. So from structure to structure, so from the accessible swing to the play structure where there's some equipment that someone in a wheelchair or walker could access.
So the bottom left photo, actually, how does a kid access the swing set there?
That one, I didn't realize that it is, I don't know. Maybe there's another swing somewhere that gives them equal accommodations.
It doesn't look like.
Yeah, maybe it's off slide. I mean, again, I pulled these off the web, just to show examples.
So I'll say this, port and place surface, if you can afford it, I think is lower maintenance product. It's not a no maintenance product.
Correct.
There's separation, bubbling that sometimes you need to readhere. the stuff,
You have to
to,
refresh it every 3 years. I read that.
what percentage, Chris, of your, I know I'm pulling on your professional expertise here.
Geez, couldn't tell you offhand what we did this year.
Do you have mostly port in place or?
We have no board in place.
Okay.
Yeah, everything is required.
So the way that I've typically seen it is, if you can afford the port in place, you go for it. It's tough when it's $32 a square foot just for the rubber and another $4 or $5 for the 4 inches of stone subgrade for it. Most projects that I work on have 1 or 2 playscapes that have poured in place, and then the other engineered wood fiber. I can tell you in Connecticut that this conversation is not happening. So this is not as ominous as you presented this.
Okay.
I do think that there's a solution
I think there
that
is
can
too.
be,
But
we can arrive at.
Did they provide any thoughts on, we have older playgrounds that we're retrofitting or putting mats down on top of these?
they did submit some stuff about mats. They submitted something about rubber, some kind of rubber pellets or something like that. There are other surfaces. I don't think the rubber pellets meet the wheelchair. I think it's more, that's for a fall zone type of application. The rubber mats are a possibility.
Because that's what we did to provide access in between the various places.
We could certainly look into that. It's just what they have been stating is that it's poured in place for accessible route. So they've been, maybe I'm just misinterpreting or reading between the lines in the emails.
Yeah.
Maybe there's, we could go with the mats and solve this in a much more cost effective way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do need the mats under the swings for wearing in general. That's in our spec.
Yeah.
So.
Well, from how you've explained it to me, actually, understanding the actual requirement would be key here, to know exactly why this is required, where it's required, so that you can design it properly. But to date, they've told you that they can interpret.
They've told me some things that I'm not gonna get into while I'm on camera. To be honest, the issue is that there's a certain test standard for the fall zone to show, that it can absorb the impact. And then there's things like moving the wheelchair wheel, the main drive wheel, turning through the material. There's several tests that are done, and you can have an independent third party, which Mark has in the district, to do that test to show that it complies. But if it's a no starter for them, that they're not going to approve the project, they're not going to, give us substantial completion, then we have to, figure out if we're going to negotiate an alternative.
Maybe you could find the Massachusetts language that clearly, it seems like Massachusetts, it's clear, it's not allowed, or well, that's them saying, I don't know if you've ever.
MAB is its own, MAB is the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board, which is their version of the Governor's Commission. They're their own entity. They have.
No, I
their
know,
own-
but if there was paperwork that they have, you could say to Rhode Island, or you could say to the governor's board, this is the proof that in Massachusetts, it's not allowed. Where is this paperwork for Rhode Island?
I could do that, yeah. I haven't wanted to escalate it yet.
I know.
I've tried my best. And I think there is a solution here, like Justin said, and I think I would like to have a meeting. It would be an hour of some people's time, people that are in the district that are educated on this. Mark, I hate to volunteer you for that, but you have the inspections done on all the buildings. And then a couple other people maybe, or maybe it's just a couple of us. And then I would need direction from the committee on how to amend the drawings.
So do you have is there a playground inspection company that you guys use?
Yeah.
Have you asked them what their read is on this?
Very opposed
To,
for in place.
interesting.
It is not,
Based on the guy that he said, engineered wood fiber meets codes and standards, it's just fine.
yeah.
The engineered wood fiber industry does not have a lobbyist that we
I
can.
was gonna say bring him for the meeting.
Yeah.
If I had received a submittal, I would have been asking that manufacturer to represent the town on their behalf.
Yeah.
But we haven't received anything yet.
We could pursue that.
Yeah, good.
We could pursue that.
Okay, so would anybody, I think I'm in for a penny and for a pound on this meeting. So, would anybody else like to volunteer for it? I'm not sure that we need 3 to 4, but
Even a couple, like if there's one from the SBC, one from the school, I think that might be, I didn't know if Dr. Garceau had any interest
I'd
in
be
that.
happy to, yeah.
I think that's plenty.
Okay.
But I didn't want to name names.
yeah, I mean, if anybody has a burning desire to get into another fracas with an authority having jurisdiction, although I'm not even sure what the jurisdiction is here, other than reporting back to RIDE on potential reimbursement funds. So,
Yeah, I was even looking into it. I don't know if there's even an escalation route on this. I've never run into it. So I don't know where I'd go.
this is not like did anybody listen to This American Life on NPR, Ira Glass? Thing? He had a Saturday program where he did like a kind of 3-part report of a theme. And there was one about, in California, they went through a period where they empowered the citizenry to report ADA accessibility and violations of ADA. And if you did and you were successful, you received a cut of the fines. So there was a whole industry of people that were walking around to, shops, markets, and saying that, this is not, and people made a lot of money for it until everybody realized that, holy smokes, this is not a good idea.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is we want to make all our playgrounds accessible to all kids and be in compliance with the law and everything. We just want to meet all the criteria. And there's a little bit of a conversation that needs to happen right now. So, okay. So I know who's identified, and I can reach out for schedules and get a meeting scheduled with them. So real quick update on Dunn's and Springbrook. Steel erection at Dunn's is starting tomorrow. The crane show showed up today. Yeah, it started today. Okay. We had a pre-construction meeting on Monday to talk about safety, when the buses are nearby and all that. So they're complying with everything so far. After the steel goes up, they'll be doing some underslab plumbing for the kitchen. Then they'll be casting the concrete slab pretty soon after that. Then we'll be looking at getting the building enclosed. So they should, I would suspect somewhere in October, we should have walls up on the building, roof on, that kind of stuff. Stormwater system, the upper right, you can see it starting to go in the back. This is what is taking all the road runoff and building runoff and treating it properly with current wetlands requirements. This should solve a lot of the road flooding problems that we had because we repitched the road. I do have a question in the bottom right. We have a memorial tree at the bus loop. It is, from what I understand, Doug Brown identified it as a dogwood. We do own relocation of this tree. It is not in great shape. It has been hit a lot of times by weed whackers and lawnmowers. The trunk is in pretty rough shape. There's markers on it from 1982 and 2002. I was hoping that maybe you could see how close it is to the bus loop, literally a foot or so away from the curb line of the bus loop. It's not going to survive in that location. I'm even wondering if we relocate it, whether it will survive. I'm wondering if we rededicate it on a new tree that we're providing, but I didn't know the significance of the dogwood meant to whoever it was dedicated to.
Do we know who it was dedicated to?
I can provide that information. I don't have that readily available in the pictures, but.
Okay. Yeah, let's find out if they're still in town.
Mhm.
We're talking
Can,
It's gotta be honest. If it's
42
whoever it is, the name
and
of it,
22.
it's a stone in the ground in front of the tree.
Yeah, there's 2 stones. There's one in front and one on the side. So, it's been dedicated twice, so.
It would make more sense to do a new tree. right?
Yeah, well, and that's fine. I just in
I
other
mean, as long
districts,
as that's.
That's a 40-year-old dog with that on.
I don't think it is. I think it's been rememorialized before.
Yeah.
I just want to know that if we want to picking a maple tree or something, that there's no significance to the
There is.
dogwood or something
That's the one
else.
that is, it's not that one on the front.
It's the one in the back.
Well, the stone, there's one right here, and then there's another one in the weeds right here. So if we could rededicate it to the large one that remains, that'd be perfect. But I don't think I need an answer now on it. I'd like to take care of it this fall during the growing season before
Yeah.
snow. So we get a chance to establish it.
Right.
Well,
It's gonna
the
get
the
clipped.
appropriate thing to do is contact the family if they're still in town,
Okay,
to see what their preference would be.
okay, so I'll provide the names on that and then,
I can reach out to them.
okay, all right, thank you. Over at Springbrook, they're a little further back, on this one. The focus is on Dunn's, both in the building and the site for school to start, but we should be seeing footings and foundations going in soon. Erection of the steel to follow. We did, just to give you an update on the lower left, we had a meeting about a week before school started regarding temporary facilities that we had proposed. We tweaked it with the principal. Day one happened, Mark and Jen, the principal, reviewed it and it wasn't working. So we wound up getting direction from the principal. She is now bringing the walkers from the back of the school directly into the classroom wing, so they're not walking up past the construction anymore. It's a better situation, so we've asked the contractor, I don't even know if the concrete barriers are still there or not. But we've asked them to demobilize and remove that. They've already gotten rid of the fence in a lot of areas. So that's just a change from what we presented to you guys, back in the beginning of this year. But it seems to be working fine. The principal's happy with the safety. We still have the badging and everything in place, so background checks are still happening. So we should be fine with that. And then they did drop the job trailer on site there. So that's pretty much the update on Springbrook for now. Change order 3. So we're just gonna go through these really quick. The first few items, the first 3 you've already approved at the last meeting. It was the fire alarm work at Dunn's Corner, both high and low, and the credit we're taking for the sidewalk protection at Dunn's that we don't need. We have a change order for a gypsum board chase at Springbrook. On the bottom left, you can see a picture of the pipe. This was to get the units back up and running. We had just missed a phasing opportunity. We showed the pipes in the new addition. It's not there yet. So we decided to put a chase in, but that was just a slight change in scope to the tune of $1,900. The additional fencing that was requested, that was an administrative zero cost change. Springbrook project sign, we owned one project sign for the project. We didn't have in our spec 2 signs, one for each building. Ride likes to see a sign in each building. So we needed to provide a sign at Springbrook. The next one is one I want to talk for a minute about is Springbrook Fire Alarm Manufacturer. We had in our spec a single manufacturer for fire alarm. Normally, we're required to provide 3 manufacturers for all products. The electrical engineer was told by, I believe, the fire department that they preferred a certain system. It was because of what I'm about to say here is that the town has a maintenance contract with Encore right now, and they can maintain certain systems. Unfortunately, because I only had one manufacturer and I didn't get it approved for proprietary by you guys, we had to entertain other manufacturers. So they submitted Notifier by Honeywell instead of FCI by, I forgot what company that is. So we said, well, what is it going to cost to change the system to FCI to work with the existing vendor that we have, the existing contract? And the change in the fire alarm panel, as well as They require some more loop wiring than, the notifier system. Both are compliant with the spec. It's just a slightly different system. The way they install it required a little bit of additional labor. So that cost is $32,197. So we wanted to talk to you guys. Mark and I worked on this to bring this before you and see if you'd be willing to spend the cost on that to have them provide a FCI panel.
So then when you do that, all the buildings will be the same system throughout.
It'll be the same system throughout, and I talked to Encore, it doesn't negate them from service, it just means that they are not a distributor of that panel, so the cost to us comes up a little bit more for the service.
So it's either you would have to get a different service contract to work on that, or it would cost more, like you said, on the service side. Or we approve this now.
The other bit of information, I want you to go back to Cindy's capital balance sheet. On the other 5-year plans, they had put money away for a fire alarm upgrade. And there is a remaining balance of $96,000.
It's already funds that are in hand to the previous conversation.
So Cindy, would that just be where if it's approved by this, they would take that money and put it into the contingency, just move the money, or it would be paid? Like, I'm just wondering how it would be, because we want to process this through the city or through the contractor. But I guess it would, like, the town funds would then reimburse the school for that, or I don't know how that works.
You would need I'll step in here. And tell you if I'm wrong.
Sorry.
We cannot authorize transfer of funds between one kitty and another. It would have to go to the school committee to authorize a fund balance to be applied for this. I think it's a perfectly appropriate one to do. In the meantime, we could fund it through our project contingency and then ask the school committee for permission to access that fund stream. However, FCI is a Honeywell product, isn't it?
It is, but for some reason, Encore cannot service this FCI system.
It is the notifier part there, not the distributor.
And it's a nature of public bid and an open source spec. We got a certain manufacturer.
And did is this manufacturer's number on bid day, or we went and the contract, or did the electrical contractor go and ask, okay, well, what if we change it to this?
The second part, so you're probably getting a little bit of opportunity markup. There's definitely, in that cost is the shop drawings that they've already prepared for the other system that they're looking to get reimbursed on. The question wasn't asked during bid.
Okay. There are some other ones that are on.
Yeah, ceiling repairs, we had some, ceiling repairs that, needed to be done in order to let the paint adhere properly at Springbrook. Just not on the drawings, but it's definitely stuff that needed to be done. Springbrook accent hallways, they took our drawings very literally when it came to where we had accent walls. So if you see in the upper left, they stopped right at the corner with the paint. We said, bring it into the inside corner. They charged us for it, $321. I tried to push back on it until I knew it was explained to me what that was. So, and then the DC rock and structural fill. This is something that we talked about in the last meeting. I gave you a heads up on it. The original, you can see on the bottom of my list here, the original amount of the change order was over $190,000. We used allowances 2 and 3 for 140 cubic yards of rock that we owned in the contract to remove that from the scope. Then we took allowance 4 for $100,000 for soil and applied that money as well to the rock to bring the rock number down. What this does is it expends your allowances 2, 3, and 4 to 100%, which is fine. It's base bid work. But in the rest of the work on the project, we will have more rock that we see, and we'll have to make a determination. Do we want to pay for it to get trucked off? Do we want to leave it on site somewhere and make it a feature? Do we want, does the town want to come in and get rid of it? And there's other options. I mean, we have contingency to deal with it if we have to. But at least for now, we keep the costs down and we've solved it with base bid scope. So the total change order, with the fire alarm in there is 47,466.05. We could do the quick math if we take that out. But
Okay, so any questions for Ashley on this? Okay, I think if there's the opportunity to potentially, you know, fund a portion of this from some existing leftover upgrade fees, then I think we'd like to explore that.
Does the school committee have that authority or does that go to town council?
As long as it fits in with the intent and the description of the capital that we were awarded, we could charge that invoice to that fund
Thanks.
without additional approval.
Furnish and install fire alarm equipment upgrades.
yeah, exactly what they're doing.
And this, by the definition of this change order, it sounds like it's an upgrade, so. As I have my own personal opinions about some of these manufacturers and the numbers that they give you when they know that they're the only vendor that's on the job versus when they're competing.
Yes.
Two markedly different prices, makes you wonder how that actually works.
Yeah, that one slipped by me when I did I'll admit it, the proprietary, when I came in with you with the brick and the roof and other things, that one just slipped in a 1 page of a spec.
Yeah.
So,
These guys, automated building controls, light fixtures, and door hardware. I will never understand how the market works with how packages are pulled together, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, so enough about me. Would anybody like to, what Ashley's asking for is a formal motion to move this along.
I move for the approval of the noted change orders in the amount of 47,466.05.
There a second? Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
yep. Now, I don't know what is coming down the pike, but I think this brings us pretty much almost up to date. We have a couple that we're negotiating back and forth on right now, but I don't know of any right now that are coming, so. But we'll see next month. So then the roof, just to let you know, the low slope roof, the flat areas of the Springbrook roof are 98%. They're just waiting on the perimeter edge metal. That was supposed to start this week. There was a delay in manufacturing. So they only got a partial shipment from another factory. So they're going to start, I think they started today or tomorrow. They're going to be doing some work. The roof shingles, the wood shingles on the cupola and the wall of the gym, PVC trim at the cupola is scheduled for this weekend. They're gonna hit it with a very large crew and get it done over the weekend. So there's gonna be no disruption to the kids. The one item that we know is a low lead item is the cupola ventilation louver, just to provide passive ventilation. That's early October. That will be on the punch list. There's no need to stop substantial completion from happening. We're still targeting the end of the month. The contractor is well aware of our desire to get this thing closed out. We'll be able to report back in 2 weeks if they're gonna hit that or not.
Okay.
Mark, is there any reason for anyone to be on site this weekend at the school?
That's
You should probably I'll follow up with Jen one more time. Just let her know. Jingles will be fine.
Yeah, and that's all I have.
Okay, any questions to Ashley? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for
Thank you, Ashley.
staying here a little bit longer.
No problem.
Anything else, Deb, under this item?
No, so I think we are good.
The next item is capital projects update.
I have some updates. The vestibules are nearly completed. We're running through punch list on almost every one of these projects right now. The original budget was 200,000. We've added 130 from the fund balance. So we are well under budget for there. And we'll look to pick up a few change orders at the middle school for the ADA access. Doors and hardware, again, we're in the punch list phase. We are under budget on that one as well. The air exchanges from the ESSER project here is under budget, but the lead times are pushing that out. Most of that is getting installed in this fall. The roof replacement you just heard of, they are under budget as well. The gym floor, we are in a punch list mode with them. They are under budget. They will come back after this fall season to recoat before basketball starts. So we will have one more application on the floor at Ward. The locker room remodeling is still very early in the project. They have a completion date of December. And then the only one that is completed and paid in full is the parking lot seal and stripe over in the student and teachers lots.
Thank you. Any questions for Mark? Okay, I don't have anything to report under item number 9, next steps. Does anybody have any questions or requests under this one?
Audrey, is everyone good at the school, the neighborhood? And I
All
know,
quiet on our end and
Good.
arrival and dismissal of the new construction pattern has been smooth.
it's excellent, excellent.
So
Okay.
is the Tesla Cybertruck on site every day? Or one of the contractors,
Right.
works
Are they
there?
parking? Are they able to park in the senior center?
I don't know.
Did we get
No,
that?
no,
Oh, they
not yet,
don't?
not yet,
Don't
yeah,
ask
that's,
myself.
that, I apologize, that was part of the update, they are still in the works of talking with DPW to get that wrapped up, but, yeah, you gotta go ask Ray to,
Okay.
I guess Andrea said it does a little routine,
Oh,
flashing,
interesting.
and,
Oh,
like,
kids will
gone.
love it too.
over 10,000 pounds going down the road, crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Here is gonna start,
Looks like an unfinished project is what it looks like.
the aggregate piers are gonna start in a couple of weeks.
Okay,
So if anybody's around, and they wanna see what's going on with that, it's a pretty cool installation. Big equipment. Oh, want to tell them about your student reporters?
Oh, I don't, have they done anything yet? I don't think so,
No, I
right?
haven't, but I thought
Right.
it was an awesome
So-
idea.
Fourth grade students want to interview, the team out back every once in a while, so they can give an update to the school community, the staff, and to parents. So
That's awesome.
we have a
Isn't
staff
that great?
meeting on September 19th, so I'd like to get them out there before that, so we can report back,
Sure.
from the student perspective.
Yeah, just let me know if they need I can escort them back
Okay,
in,
great.
introduce them to everybody.
Might need a hard hat.
Yeah, you know,
Oh,
yeah, hard
they'll have
hat,
a hard hat,
absolutely.
you know. That's a great,
Yeah.
Video log.
yeah, that's a good idea, yeah, and I think one of the, Owen does, he'll be video logging the project too, so.
Yeah, he
we'll be
wears
able
a
to- Yeah,
camera on his hat
yeah.
and
That's
walks
really
around.
good.
Yeah. All high tech over there.
awesome. That's great.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Okay. Next item is public comment.
Oh. Now I have nothing to say.
All right.
Good.
First time for everything.
Do you know how hard it is to sit here?
Okay, with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Their second. All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.